Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this hearing on the city's 2025 through 2029 Consolidated Plan and the 2025 Annual Action Plan. I would like to thank my colleague, Councilmember White, who has joined us today for our hearing, and also would like to thank Director Kathy Owens, Director of our Finance and Management Office, as well as Director Mike Stevens with the Department of Development for their support in putting this hearing together and for all the work that they've done behind the scenes to get us here today. The city's 2025 through 2029 U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Consolidated Plan and the 2025 HUD Annual Action Plan set goals and define priorities for housing and community development investment in Columbus. Most of today's hearing will be run by our staff in the Department of Finance and Management and in the Department of Development, who have run a robust process to arrive at the recommendations in this plan. And we definitely want to commend Lucy McMahon in our Department of Finance for all the work that she puts in, all of the hours of community input and engagement that really go in to the projects that you'll hear about today. She is truly our CDBG guru around here and keeps us legal, but also helps us be creative so that we can bring great projects to our community. Similar to other hearings, my team will keep an eye on our YouTube and Facebook streams. It is always a policy of mine that I want to engage with folks who are engaging with us virtually. So if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat, and we will do our best to answer those once we get to the public speaker part of the presentation or during the presentation where it's appropriate. I would now like to pass the mic to Lucy McMahon, the Grants Management Coordinator for, before I do that, Councilmember White, did you have any opening remarks?
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. Just thank you for your work and your staff's work in organizing tonight, and then obviously all of our speakers for being here and advocating for the work that you're doing in the community. It's so necessary and so important. As a newbie, I just wanted to be in the room and hear what is happening in the city. So I appreciate all of you for being here and for the work that you're doing, and that's it for me, Chair.
Well, thank you, Council Member, and thank you for being here. This is one of my favorite hearings because we get to hear directly from our partners who are doing great work in the community. So with that, I'll turn over to Lucy McMahon. She is the Grants Management Coordinator for the Department of Finance and Management, who will share the HUD grant overview video with us, and then we'll go from there. Lucy?
Thank you, Chair Bankston and Councilmember White. I appreciate you for hosting this hearing tonight. The grants management section is in the Department of Finance and Management, and our team ensures compliance with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Our work includes budgeting, awarding funds, and reporting on the successes of all of our programs. So we'll start today's hearing with a video that provides an overview of the HUD programs. It also highlights some recent HUD-funded projects and explains a bit about the city's planning processes.
Hi, I am Kathy Owens, Director of the City of Columbus Department of Finance and Management. Each year, the city's grants management team administers funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, including the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership Program, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and the Emergency Solutions Grant. Through these HUD grants, the city promotes integrated approaches that create and improve affordable housing, enhance quality of life for Columbus residents, and generate economic opportunities for low to moderate income people in the neighborhoods of Columbus most in need, including Linden, the neighborhood I grew up in.
McDowell Place is one of Homeport's newest multifamily affordable housing communities. It brings 50 new affordable apartments to Franklinton with a variety of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units in a central, walkable location close to transit options, retail, and community spaces. Homeport was awarded Home Investment Partnership funds to support the development of this vital affordable housing community.
We are an affordable housing developer. We've been in business since 1987, and we specialize in housing low and moderate income individuals and families. Yes, we use tax credits to develop, but in order to really house those at 60, 40, 50, 30% of area median income, then you really need other subsidy. The tax credits go a long way, but you do also need some gap funding to close that final gap to get the project done. Definitely the HUD dollars came in that space to be able to get to the finish line. Also, because the resource was something that was publicly owned and was using HUD dollars, we were able to go through a really engaged community process to establish why the former building needed to come down, what were the potential remedies, what were the potential alternatives to explore prior to then agreeing to move forward with the development of McDowell. So I really, with the public funding, it brought us not only the dollars, but this really deliberate community engagement process that really got us to a better outcome for the project in the end.
At the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, when many downtown businesses were closed or had limited access, Capitol Crossroads Special Improvement District recognized a need and added portable public toilets around downtown. It quickly became clear that public restrooms were an amenity that downtown had been lacking, and the city decided to partner with Capitol Crossroads Special Improvement District to replace the portable restrooms with permanent, high-quality public restrooms at 3 key locations. The Permanent Public Restrooms project used a creative mix of CDBG, CARES Act, and ARPA funds for installation, and an ongoing partnership with the CID keeps the restrooms safe, clean, and operational.
It's been a great benefit to downtown in a number of ways. We've been getting comments saying how much they appreciate having them. Our own clean team has seen a great reduction in the incidence of human waste in the right-of-way, so it's clear that these are making a big difference downtown.
West Franklinton is a neighborhood that has historically been underserved by neighborhood parks. As a historic, largely built-out area, Columbus Recreation and Parks Department had to get creative to find available land to improve community park access. Luckily, they found opportunity in the wide boulevard medians that line a few streets in the neighborhood. CDBG CARES Act funds were used to turn these formerly passive medians into active parks with paths, playgrounds, gathering spaces, recreation courts, and other amenities for all ages and abilities to enjoy.
The idea with these medians was to build park spaces where you could have natural observations, where you have houses on either side or the library over here, where people could look after the parks, but also be connected better into the parks as well. We worked with the Franklinton Area Commission to get their approval of this project. They got to pick this project out of a few different projects for a UIRF, or Urban Infrastructure Recovery Fund project. However, that wasn't quite enough funding to get it across the finish line, and so CDBG, or Community Block Grant Development Grants, were also used thanks to our Department of Finance to make sure we had enough money to get that budget to construction.
The Refuge Ohio works to change the lives of men affected by addiction, a problem impacting families across Columbus. Since 1999, the Refuge has helped thousands of men struggling with drugs or alcohol to start a new life. As part of their 13-month residential recovery program, many of their clients will live at The Hub, their location on Sullivan Avenue in the Hilltop.
So this space is important for all the different reasons to why a home is important. It's a safe space. It's a place where it gives you time to rest, to heal.
CDBG funds were used to improve this deteriorating building with repaired balconies and new railings, new windows, doors, and lighting, and a new commercial-grade kitchen.
We got a call from code enforcement, and they pointed out that we had a crumbling balcony and we needed to do something about it. We reached out and got an estimate. One of them was $50,000, and we were like, that's a lot of money. We're a nonprofit, so let's get another estimate. And that one came back at $300,000. At the same time, we were applying for the Community Development Block Grant Fund. When we heard that we were awarded this, the city came out and asked us, is there anything else that you would like help with? The conversation we had with the city around how they could help us beyond what we originally asked, it was a gift that we didn't know we needed. If we didn't receive this funding, we would not have been able to provide the same amount of services to the same amount of people.
This year, in addition to the annual action plan that the city submits to HUD each year, which establishes projects for implementation in the upcoming year, The Department of Finance and Management is proud to be presenting an updated 5-year consolidated plan for the 2025 to 2029 performance period. The consolidated plan sets goals and defines priorities for housing and community development investment in Columbus. In the process of developing the new consolidated plan, the grants management team conducted extensive community engagement, hosting or attending 14 public meetings or community events, and receiving hundreds of survey responses. In addition to this public engagement, the Department of Finance and Management conducted a comprehensive needs assessment and market analysis that looked at the levels of relative need in the areas of affordable housing, homelessness, special needs, and community development. Through this outreach and analysis, we've outlined these draft strategic goals of the 2025 to 2029 Consolidated Plan. The 2025 Annual Action Plan describes the projects that the city will support to address these strategic goals. The City of Columbus Department of Finance and Management is excited to highlight these HUD-funded community development projects driving positive change in Columbus. The city's grants management section works collaboratively with community partners to cultivate these projects with the collective goal of revitalizing neighborhoods and ensuring equitable access to housing and supportive services for all citizens of Columbus. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to the success of these projects. We look forward to continuing to work alongside you on future transformational, HUD-funded projects in our vibrant neighborhoods throughout Columbus.
So this spring and summer, grants management worked with community stakeholders and the public to craft a draft 2025 annual action plan and a draft 5-year consolidated plan. So you heard in that video what that process was. And then on October 21st, the city published the proposed plans on the grants management webpage. The 2025 draft annual action plan includes proposed projects and estimated budgets. Typically, HUD does not announce the city's funding allocations until the spring. So we'll revise the draft plans to include the total amounts before we submit the final plans to HUD. Upon HUD's approval of the plans, the city will receive grant agreements for the mayor to execute. Tonight, we're going to go over everything we're proposing to include in the 2025 HUD plans, and we're accepting public comments here tonight and by email. Our email is grantsmgmt@columbus.gov.
Thank you, Lucy. And you didn't give time for folks to applaud the video, because I think we should applaud the video, right? It was a good video? Yeah, there we go. Thanks. No, and I thank you for that applause, because I was going to say applaud our team that put that together. So I want to thank our good folks at CTV. They're the folks that work behind the scenes that do so much work to make sure that we are communicating with the public and communicating in a very nice way. So thank you for that. I just have one question for you, Lucy, and that's just to give us a little explanation of how CDBG dollars and all of these dollars really flow, right, from the federal government. How is that allocated to cities, and what's the formula that goes into it? And you don't have to do the X plus Y equals Z formula, but just the formula of how we get there.
So it's based on the amount of growth in the city of Columbus and the amount of low to moderate income folks that live here. And so each entitlement community is allocated an annual amount for each of the HUD grants that we'll talk about that the director listed in that video. And then the Department of Finance and Management, where the grants management section is, we do all of the plans and manage all of the subrecipient agreements for CDBG. And then the Department of Development is the department at the city that actually is doing the expenditure for the Emergency Solutions Grant, the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and the Home Investment Partnership Program.
Great, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure we had that clarification. Thanks. Any questions or comments so far from Councilmember White? None? Okay. So next, we will I will pass the mic actually to our Deputy Director, Hannah Jones, with our Department of Development, who will run through Emergency Solution Grants, or ESG dollars, portion of our hearing. Deputy Director?
Thank you, Chair Bankston, Councilmember Weish. The Emergency Solutions Grant is a federal grant that we provide to the Community Shelter Board as our continuum of care provider. It's anticipated that in 2025, we will receive approximately $667,379, very specific. This funding will provide rapid rehousing and emergency shelter assistance to approximately 1,900 individuals. And with that, I would like to introduce Shannon Isom, who serves as the President and CEO of the Community Shelter Board, who will provide further detail on how they utilize this funding to support their work in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, and good evening to both Committee Chair Council Member Bankston as well as Council Member Weish. I'd like to also thank other esteemed members of the committee as well as the relationship that we have had not only with the department but also Lucy and Rita. I am representing the Community Shelter Board and its president and CEO, as well as our 16 other partner agencies that deliver services to people facing homelessness in both Columbus as well as Franklin County. We deeply appreciate the opportunity to discuss the emergency solutions grants and the importance of HUD funds in this city. And although, as Hannah said, it is very specific to the dollar, I think more so what I'm will want to convey is how these grant dollars literally change and save people's lives. We used $261,809 specifically for emergency shelters. And as we all know, these emergency shelters are vital in providing a safe and secure and temporary place for vulnerable populations. The funding helps keep shelters running efficiently, directly reducing street homelessness and ensuring safety. We spend $280,558 on rapid rehousing. This is critical in breaking the cycle of homelessness. Rapid rehousing is meant to focus on rapidly rehousing individuals and families, reducing the economic and social impacts on community. HMIS, which is the Homeless Management Information System, is crucial to everything that we do, tracking and collecting, and a cornerstone of a robust data system. We use dollars for administrative costs, obviously effectively administratively maximizing impact, being able to report out on data, as well as being a good partner around our compliance standards with HUD. Most of our dollars, this total ESG program allocation, $667,000, little over that, is budgeted, representing the full spectrum of approach to addressing homelessness, as well as balancing immediate relief with strategic long-term solutions that foster sustainable, independent, and community well-being. In conclusion, we want to again express how ESG funds for many of our partners is critical. It is critical that we maintain these dollars. It ensures that our city and our county actively progresses towards the goal of ending homelessness, offering both immediate relief and sustainable pathways to stable housing. Thank you for your time. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Madam President. Any questions from my colleague? Just one question, and Madam President or Deputy Director, you can answer. When we talk about the housing crisis and increasing homelessness crisis that we are dealing with, talk about specifically these funds, how those are allocated, and are there things that we can be doing to advocate for more of them? And I asked that question in the spirit of, and I asked it to Lucy too, and I don't think I clarified, that most of these funds come to communities, but it's almost as if you're penalized because you're not hit the crisis level that they expect just yet. And what I mean by that is as we continue to grow, and our population continues to do well, our pot gets smaller as other cities like Cleveland and Cincinnati and other folks get more resources. But the spirit of my question is, what can we be doing to advocate to say these funds shouldn't wait till it gets to a mass critical level that we get a share? When you're in a community like that we are, that we have an opportunity to get ahead of it. How do we go about that, or what is some of the things that you have seen in other communities or in your line of work?
Okay. Thank you for the question. I think that the ESG funds or those emergency funds that directly go towards emergency shelters, crisis services, are probably going to continue to kind of lose the power of the dollar because we are getting bigger. And to your point, those dollars don't stretch as much. However, from where we sit, the Community Shelter Board, and we are a community that is lucky to have, I think, and with some hard, diligent work, a Community Shelter Board that is able to go to HUD very directly because we are so powerful in our voice, as well as within our compliance structure, as well as not leaving a dollar on the table to advocate, and more importantly, to actively ask for other dollars that come and are available across the country. As those dollars become available, not only are we positioned to be competitive because we use our dollars so well here, Council Member Bankston, because we use them so well, that as we more actively advocate for those, we have a track record of being able to actually procure what we ask. So although these emergency shelter dollars, which in the scheme of things are small and are getting smaller, I do believe that we will have opportunity to increase other emergency service dollars when available, just because we have such a strong system, voice, and an active way in which we comply with our partners and with our relationship with the city.
And if I could add to that, Chair, I think one of the things that Shannon always points out is that shelter is one of the few things that has no federal funding mechanism outside of the Emergency Shelter Board. We are here to talk about a lot of resources that are to our community partners who lift up people, as well as housing, which is the ultimate solution for homelessness. But it also speaks to the importance of leveraging regional funding and other municipalities who can engage in the work. When we talk about housing, it's a regional issue. Homelessness is also something that the Community Shelter Board serves the whole county. So we would also emphasize, in addition to advocating unlocking federal dollars, what we can do at a state and a municipal level and a regional level is equally important.
Thank you for that. And again, thank you, President Isom, for your leadership. I know the comprehensive plan and the work that you've been doing. I've been very impressed in the short amount of period of time that you have been here to really raise this issue. As you know, housing is a critical issue for us here at Council, but really want to just say appreciate the work that you all are doing on the ground level at CSB. All right. Thank you. So with that, we will move right into the community block grant portion of our hearing. And I'm going to turn the floor back over to Lucy, who will run that segment for us. Lucy.
Thank you, Chair Bankston. First, I just wanted to mention that the Community Development Block Grant turned 50 this year. So since 1974, HUD has invested over 170 billion CDBG dollars in communities across the United States. And CDBG is a challenging resource to spend. It's got a lot of red tape, but it's an incredible resource from the federal government that supports projects and programs that change lives and improve neighborhoods. As you saw in the video, and you'll hear from speakers tonight, the city utilizes CDBG in innovative ways that maximize impact. And the purpose of the funding can't be realized without the awesome people here tonight. All of these folks represent organizations throughout Columbus that help families thrive and provide really important services. So this year, we estimate the city's CDBG budget will be about $7.5 million. Grants Management plans to spend about $900,000 for city staffing and contracting costs for the planning and administration of HUD funds. The city is planning to spend a portion of the CDBG administration and planning budget on the cost associated with analysis of impediments to fair housing and an equity plan. These documents will help the city establish new methods to advance fair and equal housing opportunities throughout Columbus. This is the 4th year that Grants Management has accepted applications from external partners for CDBG funding. In total, we received over 60 project proposals, and that totaled over $35 million of CDBG requests. So we had to prioritize what was selected for inclusion in the draft annual action plan based on our needs assessment, and we've selected 15 external proposals, and there's a big range of types of projects. First, Legal Aid of Southeast and Central Ohio is proposing to implement 2 citywide CDBG funded programs in 2025. The Fair Housing Program would utilize $200,000, and the Housing Conditions Program would utilize $125,000. Melissa Benson, Senior Managing Attorney, is here to provide some additional information about those programs.
Thank you. Chair Bankston and Councilmember White, thank you for having me here to speak with you this evening. Legal Aid provides free legal services to low-income members of our community in a variety of issues that affect their livelihood. And one of the major services that we provide is legal assistance in housing. We are very much known for our work doing eviction prevention, but all sorts of housing challenges that the public face are entwined and can, in fact, lead to eviction. Under federal, state, and local laws, the people of the City of Columbus have the right to rent, purchase, and live in their homes free of discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, which includes sexual orientation and gender identity, familial status, disability, military status, ancestry, and locally in the City of Columbus, discrimination based on source of income when renting. Thanks to CDBG fair housing funding from the City of Columbus, this past year, Legal Aid was able to serve 166 families that faced fair housing challenges, including 101 fair housing cases specifically and 65 other fair housing related cases. This is a 48% increase over what we were able to serve in 2023. We've taken enforcement action in 1/3 of those cases, which has included everything from litigation to administrative agency complaints with the Ohio Civil Rights Commission and federally with HUD, to negotiating resolutions with individual landlords and their attorneys without having to engage in those processes. Through all of this, we have prevented evictions, obtained accommodations for disabilities, maintained housing subsidies, forced corrective actions such as training of property management staff on fair housing obligations, and gotten monetary damages for people who have faced discrimination in housing. We've also had the opportunity to provide community trainings, including one to several officers from Columbus City Code Enforcement who will be enforcing the city's criminal housing enforcement laws, the Kaleidoscope Youth Center, the Ohio chapter of the National Association of Social Workers, and Franklin County parole officers, so that others within our community are able to refer people to us and help to further protect fair housing rights. We also have been able to establish a testing program in the City of Columbus and in Franklin County, which is something that has been absent here for quite some time. And this past year began conducting fair housing tests. With this renewed CDBG fair housing funding, Legal Aid intends to expand our fair housing work to serve more families through fair housing testing and enforcement, focusing on the areas where we've seen the greatest need, which have been disability discrimination, sexual harassment, and discrimination based on race and national origin. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions about our fair housing project.
Thank you, Melissa. Just really quickly, where can people reach out if they are having an issue?
You can reach Legal Aid at our intake line in Columbus is 614-241-2001.
Thank you for that. And again, want to clarify that that's for our residents, but it's also for other service providers who are here in this room, because I know that those are upticks that I'm sure we're seeing across the human services sector.
Yes, absolutely. Service providers are welcome to refer cases to us or to reach out to me directly to discuss getting training set up if they want their staff to receive training on this, or the people that they serve. We can also do trainings for tenants as well.
Thank you. Councilmember? Okay. Thank you.
We are fortunate enough at Legal Aid to be funded for not one but two projects with CDBG funds this year. The second section of funding that we have is funding for our housing conditions work, where we assist families living in the city of Columbus who are facing poor housing conditions to get those conditions repaired. We've seen several drastic examples in the past few years here of the worst case scenario, Latitude 525, Colonial Village situations where large numbers of families were displaced because of very bad conditions. That's generally not the experience that tenants have when they are struggling with housing conditions, but too often in the city of Columbus, low-income people simply do not have the option to move or to vote with their feet, so to speak, when they are living in a place that isn't safe. And landlords do have legal obligations to keep their rental units in good condition. Through our conditions project, we help tenants to request repairs in ways that preserve their rights to escrow their rent, and in certain situations when it is necessary to file affirmative lawsuits, sometimes partnering with the city attorney's office to represent tenants in some of the lawsuits that they have filed, in order to force repairs and to keep people safely housed. We are grateful to again receive this funding from the city of Columbus, and with this new funding, plan to provide legal advice and representation to Columbus tenants living in unsafe rental housing, with the hope of both improving the quality of Columbus's housing stock and avoiding displacement for families who are currently living in unsafe housing conditions. Thank you.
And that number, one more time. What's that number?
Pardon me?
The number where we can reach you.
Oh, again, 614-241-2001.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm sorry, I forgot to give you had two programs. I didn't mean to give you to wrap it up music so soon. I apologize. All right, who we have up next, Lucy?
Thank you. The city is proposing to enter into an agreement with Habitat for Humanity Mid-Ohio for the third year for a roof repair program. President and CEO Brandy Alisa is here to share about the roof repair program.
Good evening, Chair Bankston and Councilmember Weish. Thank you for having me here tonight. So Habitat for Humanity, of course, we're very well known for the construction and sale of affordable single-family homes, but we have a growing portfolio around home repair. And so in calendar years 2023 and 2024, we repaired or replaced 40 roofs for homeowners in the city of Columbus. In 2025, with the proposed increased funding, we would be able to serve another 40 families alone in 2025. We assess hundreds of homes a year for a multitude of home repairs, and roofs continue to be often one of the highest priority items when we're looking at health and safety items. With the CDBG funding, we're able to layer that on other sources of funds. So when we're doing a home repair, we're often able to repair several critical things. And so these dollars are used to layer on, maybe we're repairing the HVAC system, siding, and the roof. And just one example of this, the Dolan family recently received a new roof, replacing their 20-year-old roof through our home repair program. In addition, they were also in need of a new electrical box and plumbing repairs on both a bathroom and a kitchen sink that would not stop leaking and did not drain properly. Because of the CDBG funding, we were able to address all of these issues, and the family now has a solid roof over their head and reliable and safe electrical and working plumbing throughout the house. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Sure.
I do, Chair. Thank you. Actually, not specifically for you, Brandy, but I appreciate you being here and obviously talking about the program. But for Lucy, you talked a little bit about the red tape related to this funding. Are there any sustainability requirements for projects, or is the city, putting forth in the application process sustainability requirements for funds that are going out to organizations?
So there aren't for CDBG dollars. There may be for home. Okay, do you want to speak to those?
Good evening, Chair Bankston, Councilmember Weish. In the home program, we do have a set of building standards that we are required to follow. It is part of HUD regulation that we establish those standards. Consequently, as we are working on projects that are primarily new construction or substantial rehabilitation, our construction techs are looking at all the plans and specs to determine things like, has the accessibility requirement been met? Are these units being built according to our standard, which is a focus on both sustainability, energy efficiency, healthy homes, at the end of the day, for the best possible experience for tenants and home buyers.
And I would add that we do an extensive environmental review process for all of these projects, especially the new construction. And we often are implementing additional improvements to meet the environmental standards.
And I hear that, especially from the home perspective, that makes sense. But even from a community nonprofit organization, the facilities that are out there, it's just increasingly expensive to retrofit buildings to meet climate standards in the future. And so if we're putting dollars out there, we want to ensure that we're going to get the biggest return for our investment, that over time, we're not going to then have to go back to a facility that would have received CBDG dollars that now also need support to deal with the changing climate.
Yeah, you're going to hear about a few HVAC improvement projects. We've been doing a lot of those lately, and obviously those have a huge cost savings for operations for the nonprofits, but also increase energy efficiency. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Habitat.
Thanks.
Who we have next?
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Okay. You got it.
The draft annual action plan includes about $202,000 of CDBG funding, so this is actually an HVAC project for Homeport for improvements at Framingham Village. Homeport's asset manager, Greg Trevino, is going to tell us more about the project.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the council members, city staff, and the community members for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding the 2025 Community Development Block Grant application. As you probably already know, Homeport is a nonprofit organization in Central Ohio that specializes in providing equitable and affordable housing to the residents of Central Ohio. Homeport has been helping families in Central Ohio for 37 years, and we have grown our portfolio to include 44 communities with over 3,000 residents, including families and our seniors. Our property, Framingham Village, is one of our older assets in the extended use of the low income housing tax credit program. And the program has 66 units and serves approximately 110 low-income residents. So, the project that brought us here to apply for the grant is to replace 33 of the oldest outside HVAC and inside furnaces. By completing this project, we can assist the residents with more efficient utilities and possibly savings of their utility bills. Again, thank you for allowing us to speak with you today regarding our plans for the 2025 Community Development Block funds. Anybody have any questions?
No questions. Councilman.
So next, the city is planning to partner with the Ohio Domestic Violence Network for a relocation and hotel assistance program. Executive Director Mary O'Doherty is here to share about the program.
Good evening, Chair Bankston and Councilmember Weish. The Ohio Domestic Violence Network is the federally recognized state coalition of Ohio's 78 domestic violence programs. Our purpose is to support and strengthen Ohio's response to domestic violence through direct survivor support, training, public awareness, technical assistance, and public policy. We have 76 member programs across the state. They include 58 domestic violence shelters and 18 non-residential domestic violence programs, including 8 culturally specific organizations. 10 of our member programs, including 8 culturally specific organizations, serve survivors of domestic violence in Columbus. Our request includes funding for our hotel and relocation programs. When local shelters are full or cannot meet the needs of those fleeing dangerous situations, a temporary hotel stay can be the bridge to safety and a way to avoid the experience of homelessness while we wait for more permanent housing plans to make. We also use the hotels while we're waiting for shelter space to open up. Our relocation assistance program helps survivors at our shelters and non-residential programs with some of the costs associated with leaving shelter. We will use these funds to cover up to $1,200 in relocation costs. Most often, those funds are used to cover a first month's rent. Most people are referred to us for help because they are suffering from the effects of poverty and because they are survivors of domestic violence. While our programs provide trauma-informed care to help survivors begin a journey of healing, our priority is also to support survivors as they address their economic needs. Participants are typically single parents earning less than $15,000 annually. 100% of our program participants will be low to moderate income households and will have exhausted all other assistance options. We requested funding to support requests from 12 member organizations that serve survivors in Columbus. They are Choices, the Center for Family Safety and Healing, Bravo, Asha Ray of Hope, Asian American Community Services, Deaf Voices Against Violence Everywhere, Ethiopian Telwahedo Social Services, also known as ETSS, the Ohio Hispanic Coalition, and Foundations for Families. Between hotel and relocation assistance, we project that 150 to 200 households will be assisted with these funds. At least 100 households will be provided hotel stays, and at least 30 to 50 households will be provided with relocation assistance. Thank you very much for your support and for this opportunity to tell you about our work.
Next, Ashley Montana from the Franklinton Development Association's she's the Community Engagement Director, will provide an overview of the organization's financial life skills program, which we plan to support with about $64,000.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ashley Montana, and I'm the Community Engagement Director at Franklinton Development Association. Our program is funded, and it was launched in 2018 to help community members better navigate the complex worlds of finances and housing. The 12-hour program is broken up into 6 classes that review the participants' relationship with money, budgeting, banking, credit, loans and debt management, job training, entrepreneurship, taxes, and risk. The program utilizes the curriculum provided by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau with a lesson guide designed by myself. Homework is assigned each week to implement what we discuss in class, and the final assignment is to create a resume. We connect participants with other organizations through guest speakers, such as Legal Aid of Southeast and Central Ohio, ECDI, Homes on the Hill, and the Columbus Financial Empowerment Center. We also work with different banks and credit unions to provide direct connections with financial institutions. Upon completion of the program, all participants receive a financial incentive of $252 and a graduation certificate. We recently celebrated our 594th graduate and have maintained a graduation rate of nearly 90%. The CDBG funding would allow us to serve up to 120 graduates in 2025. The funding will support 2 staff members who are responsible for all of the program management, from outreach, scheduling, grant recording, data collection, and implementation. This allows us to make the programming more effective with our 4-person team and serve the demand of our growing interest list, which has added 325 people in just this calendar year. Thank you.
Just one question. Thank you for being here and for what you're doing. And obviously, everyone needs some financial literacy help. I'm just curious, do you also provide kind of community resources that are available to participants? I'm thinking more around discount programs for water, electricity. Just curious if that is a part of the programming.
Yes, we do provide connections to community resources. The other staff member that helps me assist this program is a certified community health worker, and so that's something she's able to do, and we regularly will meet people's needs around resources.
Great. The next project is with Helping Hands Health and Wellness Center in Linden. The city plans to invest $50,000 for their free care program. Executive Director Sarah Gray is here to discuss how her organization plans to use the CDBG funding in 2025.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to share briefly about our organization. As mentioned, my name is Sarah Gray, and I am the Executive Director of Helping Hands Health and Wellness Center. We are a nonprofit free medical clinic, and we provide free family medicine and social services care to those who are medically uninsured or underinsured and at or below 400% of the federal poverty guidelines. Most of the patients that we serve do reside in Franklin County, but we don't put any geographic limitations on who we serve. Our clinic has two primary programs, the first one being our women's health program and the second one being our free care program. Our women's health program operates monthly and provides free pap smears, pelvic exams, and clinical breast exams to underserved women. However, today I'm here specifically to share about our free care program. Our free care program operates weekly, both on Tuesdays and Thursdays, to provide that free family medicine, pharmacy services, and social services care to our uninsured and underinsured community members. The free care program is home to over 80% of the services that we provide throughout the year. So from doctor's visits to lab draws, preventative screenings, and counselor visits, most of those do take place during our free care program. And we understand the critical need that there is for this program. The Kaiser Family Foundation reports that 7% of the Ohio population is uninsured. And it also states that people without insurance coverage have lower access to care than people who are insured, and those without insurance are more likely to delay or forego care due to cost. So support for our free care program would allow our programs to continue to serve the medically underserved, as well as expand our existing programs and explore new opportunities to serve the community more comprehensively. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you again for allowing me to be here with you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, the city intends to invest $200,000 for the RX to Breathe program, which will be managed by the Charitable Pharmacy of Central Ohio. Executive Director Taylor Reed is here to tell us about the program.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Lucy, and thank you, Chair Bankston and Councilmember Weish. It's a pleasure to be with you today. My name's Dr. Taylor Reed. I have the joy and privilege of leading the Charitable Pharmacy of Central Ohio. We're the nonprofit here in the Franklin County that has provided more than 1 million prescriptions for free to low-income neighbors all across our community. And we endeavor that all neighbors should have the medicines they need to be able to live a healthy lifestyle and thrive. Before you today is a program, the Prescription to Breathe, where we'll explore and address the link between climate change and airway disease, as we have more hotter days on record and experience those effects here in our own community. We are also noticing an increase in breathing illnesses that require inhalers to treat. Those illnesses affect communities disproportionately, and especially for those who can't afford their inhalers, they're left without hope and breathless, gasping for air and a chance. Many patients can afford a rescue inhaler. It's relatively inexpensive and provides a quick relief, but it also provides diminishing return over time. And controller inhalers, the maintenance inhalers that support asthma or COPD are far too expensive for many of our low-income neighbors to afford. And that's what we're going to be addressing here. Controller inhalers remain one of the top 3 referral reasons for patients to find the charitable pharmacy, and 1 in 3 of our patients requires inhalers and active management of their airway disease. We're hoping to both fund purchasing those inhalers as well as support the pharmacists who will provide the education for patients to understand how to use them and get the most out of them. The ability to breathe is an equity issue. Accessing inhalers is an equity issue, and we're excited to bring this program to Columbus and further our work in elevating everyone to have a healthy life. Thank you for your time, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, you knew I was going to have a question when you said climate change, so of course. No, thank you for what you're doing. Obviously, air quality is becoming a big issue across the country. Obviously, we've experienced a number of air quality days here in Columbus, this year with the fire, previous years with the Canadian wildfires. Just kind of curious, in terms of the inhalers that are going out, do you have a sense of like specific zip codes where you're seeing more uptick in participants using your program?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Council Member. We are proud to serve patients in every zip code across this county, but it won't surprise you that there are pockets of this community where there's more health disparities than others. And so we serve more patients on the south side and also in the Linden neighborhoods and up through the Cleveland Avenue corridor into Northland are some of the primary zip codes that we serve. Air quality affects all of us, though, here in the city, and those inhalers are incredibly expensive.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing that. I would be interested in kind of seeing the data and what it kind of shapes out to be. Probably follows our lack of tree canopy in certain areas in which we have recycling centers that are available as well, and also limited air quality monitors to go with it. So appreciate you being here and providing that testimony. Definitely will follow up to see what additional insights we might be able to take.
My pleasure, and happy to work with you, understanding both the impacts of health, but also what you're describing as the social determinants of health. There is a direct link, and they do tie to the physical climate, the physical plant that our community members live in.
Next, Mike Hochran, Senior Vice President of Communication and Public Affairs for the Mid-Ohio Food Collective, will share about the Eastland Prosperity Center and the $2 million CDBG proposal.
Good evening, Chair Bankston, Councilmember Weish, and thank you, Lucy. As you know, Mid-Ohio Food Collective is the backbone of our hunger relief system in Central and Eastern Ohio, and we appreciate the deep and enduring relationship with the City of Columbus to ensure that nobody goes hungry in our community. Several years ago, we embarked on the Mid-Ohio Market Strategy to enhance access to free, nutritious food alongside other much-needed services, because we know that solving hunger requires more than food alone. And the Eastland Prosperity Center will be truly a transformational realization of the market strategy and at an unseen scale in this community. With the CDBG investment, the Food Collective will transform the former Kroger, located near Refugee and Hamilton Roads down in Eastland, into a human services hub in the area in the region with the greatest unmet needs. The Eastland Prosperity Center will convert 67,000 square feet space into a free grocery store market, along with a community health center, city services, including a WIC clinic, Celebrate One, the Far East Neighborhood Pride Center, and much more. We're planning all of the services in the Prosperity Center to be responsive to the needs of the community, filling critical gaps in this human services desert. Once open in 2026, we anticipate serving over 100,000 low-income and food-insecure residents each year in this one location alone. Thank you for your consideration and support, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mitchell Cahill, Grants PQI and COA Manager, will explain how $400,000 will assist Directions for Youth and Families in a major upgrade to their HVAC system.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. My name is Mitchell Cahill.
and I'm with Directions for Youth and Families. DFYF is a resiliency-oriented and trauma-informed nonprofit whose mission is to build and inspire hope, healing, and resilience to youth, families, and communities in Columbus and Central Ohio. The services we provide include school-based and community-based mental health counseling, after-school and summer youth programming, service learning programming, and early childhood education and support. I want to thank the city for giving DFYF this opportunity, as these funds would go towards updating our HVAC system for the Ohio Avenue Youth Center on the Near East Side, where we have provided free after-school and summer programming since 2006. During this time, we have served thousands of youth and by providing a safe and welcoming environment where they receive tutoring, get a healthy meal, and participate in academic, art, music, and physical education activities. Over the past few years, the renovations made before opening the youth center in 2006 have become more difficult to maintain due to the complexity and age of our systems. The replacement of this system with one that is both more energy efficient and robust will help us continue to ensure we are providing our kids with a clean and safe environment for years to come. Thank you.
Community Development for All People's Director of Development, Mark Reed, is here to discuss how the organization intends to invest $500,000 of CDBG funding for improvements to their Parsons Avenue campus.
Good evening, Chair Bankston, Council Member White. We appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. Good evening, friends and neighbors gathered as well. At Community Development for All People, our community faces significant challenges with our historic second floor, where we gather for classes, mail collection, health testing, housing assistance, and other important conversations. Built over a century ago as small apartments with shared bathrooms, this space, with its narrow hallways and disconnected stairs and elevator, lacks accessibility and cohesiveness worthy of the community we serve. Its floor plan is confusing, and multiple flooring materials further complicate its navigation, hindering our ability to fully utilize the area. Thanks to the opportunity presented by this grant, we will transform this challenge into an asset. We envision a future where wider hallways and new finishes allow for more accessibility, where public-facing direct service offices line a central corridor connecting the stairs and the elevator, and a new roof protects our space, as well as other updates and repairs. This will not only enhance accessibility, but also foster a sense of openness and inclusion, creating space for small group gatherings to encourage community interaction and support. This grant empowers us to bridge the past and the future, both preserving our building and creating a more accessible and cohesive environment for all. Thank you.
Next up, the city is also planning facility improvements at Mary Haven. Boomer Schmidt, Chief Advancement Officer, will speak concerning the $300,000 of CDBG money that we intend to invest in their facility on Elm Creek.
Thank you, Lucy. Good evening, Chair Bankston and Councilmember White. As you know, Mary Haven has become Ohio's most comprehensive behavioral health care organization focused on substance use and mental health. In our 70 years of existence, we've been pleased to serve Columbus and surrounding areas. In those 70 years, we have grown and evolved with the needs of the community, and we've seen expansion into multiple locations here in the city of Columbus. This investment would be put towards our main campus located on Allen Creek Drive on the city's south side neighborhood in the 43207 zip code. With this potential investment, we plan to update and repave our parking lot for clients, as well as make investments in our park behind our facility, including repaving our walking path and basketball courts. We also will increase and invest in updated security for the exterior of the building. With this potential investment, we'll be able to ensure that the thousands of individuals that receive substance use, mental health, and problem gambling services at this facility will have a safer and better equipped facility to build the foundation for a healthier future. Thank you again to Lucy and the entire grants management team. I also want to thank my colleagues sitting around the podiums here who do great work in this community, and then also a shout out to my advancement team from Maryhaven who came to support me this evening. Thank you again for this opportunity, Chair Bankston, Councilmember White, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this potential project.
No questions, Boomer. Just want to recognize and congratulate you all on being recognized by USA Today. Is that
Newsweek?
Sorry, Newsweek, as a top addiction and mental health provider in the country. So congratulations to that. Glad to have Maryhaven right here in our backyard. I have, just to take a point of privilege, a mom who is will be celebrating 7 years clean at the top of this year in January. Thank you. And hands down, it's because of organizations like Maryhaven. So I know the halls well there personally, and so know what the work is going on there. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Next up is Bridgeway Academy's co-founder and co-CEO, Erin Neely. She's going to speak next concerning the approximately $150,000 in CDBG funds that are requested for a roof replacement at their facility, also on Alum Creek Drive.
Good evening, Chair Bankston and Councilmember Weish. I'm pleased to be here and thank you for this opportunity, as well as to the Grants Committee. Bridgeway Academy has been a pillar for Central Ohio's disability community for the last 20 years and recently occupied a 115,000 square foot building on Alum Creek Drive on 23 acres, which is on the southeast side of Columbus. Bridgeway Academy and Therapy Center serves approximately 800 visitors each day. These are students, clients with autism and other developmental disabilities, their families, and our staff. Our students and clients are some of the most sensitive, underserved, and underrepresented in our community. And Bridgeway's facility was constructed in the 1970s, and since our move to the building in 2020, Bridgeway has made numerous roof and building repairs due to leaks and other roofing issues. The physical environment at Bridgeway plays a crucial role in our students' learning, sensory regulation, and overall well-being. With the funding from this grant, Bridgeway will be able to repair and replace the deteriorating roof, providing safety and security for our students and staff. This will also prevent future further leaks, water damage, and potential hazards like mold or structural issues, and then continues to secure that healthy environment. The installation is also imperative to safeguard valuable resources, including technology, materials, educational curriculum, and the like. In certain areas of the building, rain has already begun to damage these assets. Making this investment in the roof repair allows us long-term sustainability and to avoid operational disruptions due to things like flooding and damage, which in turn disrupts the continuity of care, educational services, and therapies, which are critical to the success of our students. And by addressing roofing issues proactively, Bridgeway can mitigate future expenses, reduce facilities staff burden, and extend the lifespan of our facility, ensuring long-term sustainability. And probably one of the most important pieces of this project is that this grant will allow us to maintain our excellent services without passing on any of these expenses to students, clients, and their families. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for being here and what you do. My question is for Lucy, though. Apologize. Do you guys make recommendations on the type of infrastructure that would go into some of these buildings when you're kind of going through the process?
So in most cases, we utilize the construction management section, which is in my department, the Department of Finance and Management. And we, have limited resources here. That's one piece to consider in how we're making choices for the investment in these facilities. But we do the project management and we hire the architect and engineer. In most cases, we're really not trying to just put lipstick on a pig. We're really trying to invest in something that's long-term going to last. And so I rely on the project managers and the architects to make those determinations. But additionally, we really look at the nonprofits as clients and partners. And so the decisions that we make are collaborative, again, based on budget needs and the prioritizations that these folks here in the room make clear to us that, they've made for their organization.
I appreciate that. I'm curious, are the long-term savings potentially being taken into consideration when looking up the upfront costs that may be necessary?
Yeah. In some cases, they've audited to, see where they're at in energy consumption. And so I'm sure then on the back end, we could check that out. Next is Gina Ginn from Columbus Early Learning Centers. She's going to give an overview of the $300,000 the city plans to invest in 3 children play areas at their facilities.
Thank you, Lucy. Good evening, Chair Bankston and Councilmember Weish and other esteemed colleagues at the City of Columbus and my fellow partner agencies. We at Columbus Early Learning Centers are beyond grateful for the opportunity to receive funds to install durable playground turf at 2 of our centers. As you know, outdoor play is essential to the health and development of young children. And so all 6 of our locations throughout Columbus include ample age-appropriate outdoor play spaces. The mulch currently used to cushion and protect the playgrounds at our Main Street and Champion Avenue sites is cheaper in the short term, but requires annual maintenance and replenishment, as well as transportation costs, volunteer and paid labor, and an array of risks to children and staff. Those risks include choking hazards for young children, mold and allergens, fire hazard, which we've had 3 of this year, and the attraction of animals and pests, not to mention how much of it is carried home in their pockets and given to their parents. Artificial turf will provide a cleaner, safer play environment for children, as well as a safer work environment for our teachers. With the smooth play surface created by the turf, it would allow our teachers to avoid any injuries or loss of work time when interacting with the children. The artificial turf projects also come with a 15-year warranty, further ensuring the longer-term viability of this investment and greater sustainability for our organization. CELC services make it possible for parents to work and children to attend school while they're cared for in these educational environments that are staffed by highly qualified early childhood teachers. Our students graduate from the program ready to enter kindergarten at a level of preparedness equal to that of their peers from higher socioeconomic statuses. The centers that will benefit from this investment are located on the Near East, or located in our Near East neighborhoods of Columbus, areas which have been struggling with historic long-term results of redlining, freeway construction, and disruption, along with a myriad of negative consequences associated with generational poverty. In addition to aiding in the healthy development of our children and families served by CELC, this investment will contribute to the healthy development of the Near East Side as a whole. Thank you so much for your consideration and contribution to our mission, and let's all remember to get outside and play every once in a while.
I have a 3-year-old, so I'm outside playing quite often.
I know.
We have another project with the Franklinton Development Association. Eric Skidmore, the organization's executive director, is going to speak about the Franklinton Hub project.
Thanks, Lucy. Thank you, Chair Bankston. Thank you, Councilmember Weish. Good evening. My name is Eric Skidmore. I'm the Executive Director of Franklinton Development Association. We develop affordable housing in the Franklin neighborhood. Along with, you heard about our financial life skills program and community resource websites. Nearly 2 years ago, I learned that Little Bottom's Free Store, a nonprofit in our neighborhood that provides vital services to families with young children, was looking for a new home because their current location was being sold. Because of our organization's experience with real estate development, I thought there was the potential to keep Little Bottoms in their current location and utilize the rest of the large church building where they are located to serve as a community nonprofit hub. We have successfully negotiated the purchase of that building. That is where the city's investment here becomes so important. The church where Little Bottoms is located is big and old. Although in good condition for its age, there has been minimal updates in many years, and there's deferred maintenance that needs to be addressed immediately. These funds will address those highest priorities. Also, the building is a valuable neighborhood asset and is ideal for development into a West Side nonprofit hub, co-locating community-based nonprofits who are facing rising real estate costs and dwindling inventory on the West Side. The building is over 21,000 square feet, offers lots of office spaces, several large multi-purpose rooms, and an industrial kitchen. Little Bottoms utilizes roughly half of that space during limited hours throughout the week, leaving lots of space for other nonprofits to co-locate. The city investment will allow us to assess the potential for the building, and we'll put together a plan for future phases of construction and the fundraising that will require. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, Eric, for stepping up and helping there. I mean, I think it's a true display of community when you have our local development association step up to help other nonprofits with that asset. Was proud last night of my colleague and good Councilmember Green, who's been a fierce advocate for this project. So we were able to utilize capital dollars for the acquisition. And this is a great example of how we can leverage federal development and other federal dollars to make our local investment go even further. So thank you for your willingness to step up, and also thank you to Ashley, because I know she's going to do all the work behind the scenes. So
great. Thank you for your support.
So the city is proposing just one internal project with the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department. Deputy Director of Capital Conservation and Strategy, Craig Murphy, is here to talk about CRPD's plan for a new park.
Thank you, Lucy, and thank you, team, for this opportunity and for this evening. Committee Chair Bankston and Councilmember Weish, good evening. Tonight we're requesting CDBG funds towards the development of a project highlighting Columbus's history relative to the Underground Railroad. The Alum Creek Corridor is part of that history, and we'd like to recognize and memorialize the important events that took place there. This idea came to us from Alfonso Hooper, a community leader in the Brittany Hills neighborhood. He sought to create something educational and recreational that would help young people learn about the Underground Railroad and Columbus's history. Recreation and Parks has partnered with the community and Columbus Metropolitan Library to develop a learning landscape alongside the Shepherd Branch Library on Fifth Avenue. Recreation and Parks, its goal is to develop a park with art and a playground that helps tell the story of the Underground Railroad. The library will install a permanent exhibit within the library facility that targets both young people and adults with books, articles, art, and other material, as well as stories. The CDBG funds would support Recreation Parks' use of architectural and engineering services to help design this new space. There's a tentative plan for a partnership launch and an announcement of this in February of 2025. We will use these funds, we will use that event as well to capture stories from the community, their history, as well as have the community help design this project. Our architect for the team will be Othelda Spencer. He helped Recreation Park a few years ago build the Kwanzaa Playground in Old Town East. So Mr. Hooper has signed up to speak tonight and help support this project. I'm happy to respond to any questions or comments.
Just a thank you, and I think I'm really looking forward to that. Now, is that event going to be inside? It's February. It's going to be cold.
Yes, it'll be inside.
Oh, okay, all right. Just make sure. All right. No, thank you.
Okay, so you guys now know what I will be spending 2025 doing, working with all these wonderful people on these amazing projects. I'm really excited. I alluded to it earlier, but again, these are boots on the ground folks. And so I'm just really grateful that the Community Development Block Grant, the 50-year-old CDBG program, is still around, supports these programs, supports these groups. And at this point, that ends the CDBG portion, unless there's any questions from you guys. Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you again, Lucy. And just, I always, I say this, I've got to do this twice now. Just want to commend you again. We're at this point, I think, because of your leadership and stepping up and doing that work to go out to our community and solicit projects. There was a time where those were really more internal projects to the city, still great projects that got done in our community, that benefited our community, but having this open process where, one, we can see what is out there, understanding that all those projects, I'm sure all $35 million were amazing projects. So as you know, it's hard whittling that down. I just want to thank you. Also want to thank all of the public. If any of you showed up to any public hearings at all, thank you for your input, because you also contributed to tonight. So thank you all again. And thank you to all the recipients for all the great work that you do. All right. Next, we're going to move into our home investment partnership. I think I have no, Rita will tell us what home means. I know housing opportunity for person. Nope, that's the wrong one. I'm just going to kick it to Rita. I know home stands for something. As soon as you say it, I'm going to remember it. So.
Chair Bankston, Councilmember Weish, good evening. I hate to disappoint you, but home is just home. It really doesn't, for whatever reason, it's all capitalized, but it doesn't really stand for anything. So
I just
other
knew
than
it was
where
an
the heart
acronym.
is.
I just knew it was an acronym. We'll come up with something.
Yeah. When we get to HOPWA, I promise I'll run through that one for you.
Okay.
So good evening. I am part of the Department of Development's presentation this evening on the utilization of federal funds. The Development Department is responsible for the administration in conjunction with the grants management folks in finance for the Home Investment Partnerships Program, aka HOME. We estimate our budget this year to be $4,250,000. We see that being spread out among a variety of opportunities. Number one, we do take a percentage of the funds. We are allowed up to 10%. We have not done that in the last few years for staffing and administration. Any funds that we do not use for administration, we put back into programming. Secondly, we have, in partnership with the Community Shelter Board, the Rebuilding Lives Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program. This is providing rental assistance to individuals who are either homeless or in danger of being homeless to maintain stable housing for them. It covers both their rent and utility allowance. Next, the CHODO, or Community Housing Development Organization, operating support. Within the home funds, we are allowed to take up to 5% of our allocation and provide operating support to community housing development organizations. One such example is directly behind me with Franklinton Development Association, who does great work in the Franklinton neighborhood and will, I'm sure, continue to do so. By the same token, there is a 15% set aside of our home allocation that is to be awarded directly to CHODOs for housing development activities. We work primarily with 4 CHODOs in our community right now: Franklinton Development Association, Community Development for All People, which is also represented here this evening, Homes on the Hill CDC, and Gertrude Wood Community Foundation, which serves the Driving Park neighborhood. We continue to work with them. Different organizations lean into different areas. Some are doing rental, some are doing home ownership, but they are all very ingrained in their neighborhoods and their communities and doing great work. In addition to that, the lion's share of the money, frankly, goes to our 2 major development programs, rental housing development and home ownership housing development. These are gap financing for both new construction and substantial rehabilitation. On the home ownership side, we provide 2 kinds of assistance. We call it development gap and affordability gap. Constructing a home in any of our neighborhoods in Columbus these days costs a lot more than, frankly, they're even worth, even though it seems to be crazier every day. And so that the difference between the cost of construction and what the property is worth when it's completed is considered the development gap. Then we look at who it is that's purchasing the home and what they can afford, and the difference between what they can get in a mortgage and what the property is worth is affordability gap. That basically attaches to the homeowner, and they are then given a affordability period anywhere from 5 to 15 years where they must maintain this as their primary residence, or we recapture the funds. We have seen a lot of success in this program. We have seen a lot of folks who've been able to really launch themselves into a better place. And this evening, I would like to reintroduce Brandy El-Issa, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Habitat for Humanity, one of our great homeownership partners.
Thank you, Rita. And can the record reflect that I'm speaking twice tonight? I'm just kidding. To simply say that we couldn't do what we do without the home dollars. The development gap is critical. Rita, made note of this, that the model of creating affordable housing is just not equal right now. The cost to build a home versus what we can sell it for does not equal out. And so these funds are critical for the work of organizations like Habitat for Humanity. We've been partnering with the City of Columbus's Housing Division for over 20 years through the Homeownership Development Program. Over these years, we have received over $10 million in home funding, impacting hundreds of lives in several neighborhoods, but most significantly the Linden neighborhood. The transformative power of this partnership can be observed by taking a drive down Myrtle Avenue, where we have built and sold 17 single-family homes. These homes are occupied by first-time homeowners who came through the Habitat program, including all of our preparation, training, and classes, committed to create a better life for their families and be part of creating community. These funds have been instrumental in our organization's past 21 years, and it's helped us to leverage other fundings and investments to continue the work that we do to help connect people to opportunity and hope by obtaining and maintaining affordable housing. Being in partnership with the City of Columbus has opened doors and provided a launch pad for our organization to come alongside more families in need of affordable housing. I do want to just commend the staff. When we have new employees join, Rita and her team offer to sit down and explain the home funding process. When there are other opportunities that are available that Habitat should be aware of or taking advantage of, Rita and her team are the first to tell us about them and work to connect them. So I'll end again by saying that we couldn't do what we're doing without these critical funds. And in 2025, we're looking to request funds to assist with 10 homes and may even be looking to grow that in the future, as I've spoken before about rethinking our portfolio and the types of homes that we're offering, moving into the multifamily space. That's quite okay.
As it relates to rental assistance, can you clarify, did you say you guys also provide utility assistance as well, or no?
So what we do in making the awards for the tenant-based rental assistance is it not only includes what the rent is, but what the anticipated utility costs are. So that is all factored in. If the tenant has an income, they are required to spend 30% of their income towards their rent, and then the tenant-based rental assistance program covers everything else, including that utility cost.
Do you guys track who is in the program is also receiving utility assistance? Obviously, as we look at new rates for the City of Columbus, the Power Division is looking to offer a low-income program. And so we've struggled to get folks to sign up for the water low-income program for utility assistance. We're trying to figure out a way to say those who are getting one type of assistance should automatically be enrolled in the other, but it's about having accurate information to kind of deliver that service.
Councilmember Weish, I hear you. I am very familiar with the low-income discount program. We have brought the folks from public utilities to our developer meetings to share the information. It's very difficult, really, to get folks moving on that one. We continue to look at different options, but it's definitely a challenge.
Do you think master metering is kind of the biggest issue towards that problem?
Excuse me?
Master metering for multi-unit buildings?
I think, perhaps working with our human services group to see those folks who are interacting with tenants and making sure that they are better aware of what all is being offered.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita and Brandy, for all the work you're doing. I think you point out a point that the cost to build a house versus what you can sell it. That is, I want to point out very distinctly, because of where you are building. And that's because you are building in places where no one else will go. So I want to thank you for that. I tell folks all the time, when we talk about affordable housing development, there is no affordable 2x4 section at Lowe's, right? There is no affordable plumbing section, right? It costs what it costs to build a house. Those costs continue to go up. And affordable housing does not mean subpar housing. It means quality housing. And so I want to thank you and your team. I also want to thank Administrator Parise for holding us to that, because I know that these home dollars, just like CDBG dollars and so many other, have so many red tapes, but you have been very, I think, thoughtful and innovative of how we work with community partners to really get them out to make an impact. So thank you for that. And with that, I think you're moving on to HOPWA, what actually does mean something. See, here's the thing. There's an acronym for everything else except for home, guys. So that's where I got messed up. So
that was just the trick one. So good evening again, Chair Bankston, Councilmember Weish. We're now going to cover the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program, or HOPWA, because in government work, if it's not an acronym, it's no fun, like home. The draft 2025 HOPWA budget at this point stands at $2.5 million. There are a variety of activities permitted within the HOPWA program. First and foremost, we always like to take our administration. When we talk about administration of this program, we actually take a portion of the administration for city staff, and a portion of the administration goes to our partners who are doing the work and the boots on the ground. Among the eligible activities within this program are tenant-based rental assistance, which is providing rental assistance, once again, both rent and utility allowance for those who are homeless or at risk of being homeless with AIDS. Permanent housing placement to assist eligible households to secure stable housing. Short-term rent, mortgage, and utility assistance, and this is helping individuals to remain in their own homes and increase their access to supportive services to prevent homelessness. And then, last but certainly not least, is the HOPWA supportive services, case managers, housing counseling, and resource identification. This program, unlike the other programs we have discussed this evening, is a regional program. We actually are in not just Franklin County, but the adjacent counties, and our providers are reflective of that regional nature. We have the Lancaster Fairfield Community Action Agency, Equitas Health, Faith Mission, and the Licking County Coalition for Housing. This evening, I would like to introduce Rachel Duck, who is the Housing Program Supervisor for the Licking County Coalition.
Good evening. At Licking County Coalition for Housing, we are dedicated to providing safe, supportive, and sustainable housing to homeless individuals and low-income households throughout the state. Currently, we operate over 13 housing programs in 18 counties across Ohio. The HOPWA program, which our organization began operating in January 2020, has had a measurable impact not just locally, but throughout the region. Under the HOPWA program, we provide long-term financial assistance through tenant-based rental assistance and short-term rent, mortgage, and utility assistance through the STRUMU program. Currently, we have 16 households enrolled in our TBRA program. 7 are in Licking County, and 9 of those are in Franklin, each of which is receiving long-term financial assistance as well as supportive services. Through the STRUMI program, we assist households that are able to sustain housing on their own, but due to a financial hardship, need that short-term assistance with their rent, their mortgage, or their utilities. The program requires recipients and case managers to create a sustainability plan prior to any assistance, and the STRUMI support is capped at 147 days in a one-year period. In addition to that, the household must be under 80% annual median income. Strong regional partnership has been key to the success of our work in the HOPWA program. We work together with Equitas Health and Lancaster Fairfield Community Action Agency, meeting twice each week to share and review referrals and requests. Thus far in 2024, LCCH has received 35 STRUMU referrals, with 27 of those receiving financial assistance. All but one of those referrals were residents of Franklin County. Since LCCH began offering STRUMU assistance, we have received 153 referrals, with 92% of those households located in Franklin County. On behalf of LCCH, thank you for this opportunity to share a snapshot of how this vital program continues to positively impact the health of households throughout Franklin County.
All right. Okay. Thank you again, Madam Administrator. Any questions, Councilmember? Okay. All right. And with that, that's brought us to the public comment portion of this evening. And as of noon today, we received 4 requests for public comment. All speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak. If there are any questions or comments from the public comment portion that we are unable to answer tonight, we will do our best to send those responses to the speakers and get those over to the appropriate departments to answer your questions. So I'll just call a couple folks, and just so you know where you are, so that we can move swiftly. So first up, we have Mr. James McDougall, followed by Tashala Alls, then Mr. Alfonso Hooper, and then finally Chet Riddenauer. Mr. McDougall, just state your name, address, any organization you represent, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Bankston, Council Member Weish, and the Finance Committee members for this important meeting. I'm James McDougall. I'm the Vice Chair of Families Flourish. I'm here to testify about the use of home funds under HUD, specifically rental support, and that keeps people housed. Unlike providing access to health care and food as a right, access to housing is not. The result is homelessness and many people in our city living in substandard housing. The federal government does provide rental assistance in several ways. The most well-known way is housing choice vouchers, sometimes called Section 8. It does not serve all families who qualify for this support. In Central Ohio, about 25% of people who qualify for vouchers receive them because the program is underfunded. There are about 14,000 vouchers being used in Central Ohio, with the priority for households under 30% of area median income. Half of those vouchers are used by families whose head of household is disabled. About 34,000 Central Ohioans are on the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority waiting list, with the longest person on there for 9 years. For those who do not get a voucher, they must use it within 2 months or lose it. This is particularly difficult in the housing climate and municipalities that have not adopted an ordinance to protect people from discrimination based on their source of income. I applaud Councilmember Shayla Favor for leading the charge to create those protections in Columbus. Families Flourish provides 3 years of partial rental support in multifamily market rate properties across Central Ohio, 60% of which are in the city of Columbus. We do it with a partnership of over 16 landlords that voluntarily partner with us. Participants get $500 per month for the first 18 months of the program and $400 per month for the last half that is paid to their landlord in rental support by Families Flourish. The amount never changes because of a rise in participants' income, so they can count it on month by month. Affordable housing is critical, but does not necessarily on its own lead to economic mobility. That's why Families Flourish created our innovative model of connecting required life coaching and programs for 3 years to provide rental support in higher resource neighborhoods throughout Columbus. It is this unique combination born at The Ohio State University that has allowed our families to raise their incomes by an average of 58% improve their credit scores by 100 points, and experience dramatically better mental health. I thank you for your time this evening.
And thank you, Mr. McDougall, for all that you do for the organization. I know that Amy has been a strong advocate here with many council members across the dais, and so look forward to continue to work with you all and look forward to your advocacy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next is Tashala Alls, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Good evening. My name is Tashayla Alls, and I'm a resident of the city of Columbus. I am a proud wife and mother, and I currently work at Nationwide Children's Hospital. This past August, I graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's degree in psychology from Otterbein University. My daughter and I have been participants in the Families Flourish program since August of 2022. Before joining the program, I was a single mom, and the rising cost of living left me to settle for poor quality housing and inadequate living conditions. The structure of the previous apartment we lived in was dilapidated, and as a result became infested with pests such as bed bugs and roaches. The landlords had received multiple environmental code violation notices by the City of Columbus Code Enforcement, and the surrounding neighborhood wasn't the safest place to raise a child or family. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford to move at the time, and like so many other struggling parents in this city, I felt stuck both physically and mentally. Receiving private rental assistance from Families Flourish has been a life-altering experience, and for me personally, an answered prayer. With the private rent support and help from Families Flourish, I now live in an apartment complex with wide green outdoor spaces for my child to play. It's also a much healthier home environment, which has helped to set both my body and mind at a greater ease. In addition to the rent support, I feel blessed for the support of the coach that I get to work with and the women in my group whom I meet with monthly. During these workshops, I get even more ideas about how to reach my goals and dreams, not just for me, but for my family. As an ambassador for the program, I've had the chance to meet some of the people who, as private citizens and businesses, have invested in Families Flourish. Their support allows this program to have flexible, sustained rent support for me and the other 80 families now in the program. I am here to advocate for you to use HUD dollars for more rent support like that provided by Families Flourish. I want a lot more families to benefit. The combination of coaching and programs alongside the rent support that allowed me access to a safe, healthy environment has allowed me to dream big. I graduate from Families Flourish next fall, and my dreams include continuing to advocate for safer and healthier living environments for families and their children, because our children and their families should not only be limited to surviving, they should be afforded the opportunity to survive and to thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Alls, and congratulations as well. Thank you for your advocacy. Next is Mr. Alfonso Hooper. And then finally, we'll have Chet Ridenour. Welcome back to Council, Mr. Hooper.
Yes, I'm
You wearing that hat too, by the way. I'm just saying.
I'm proud to be here tonight for this important speech I wanted for Councilman Chairperson Bankston and Mr. Wash. This brings back a lot of memories of the Underground Railroad and what it means to the city of Columbus. A lot of people didn't know what the Underground Railroad was, and just being a long-term resident in Brittany Hills for 55 years, and the way the Underground Railroad comes through our lovely historical Sunbury Road, I thought it was time for me to advocate for our history, a history that a wonderful man, Mr. Mayor Coleman, was on top of this house here that got tore down here some 50 years ago, trying to stop the bulldozers from tearing down this wonderful black history. Now I come before you tonight to say we can make it right. We can make Columbus a historical place that our kids and our students can look up to what this history did, how it goes through our neighborhoods to our great eastern stores. And I'm here to advocate that. I was so thankful for Parks and Rec when I mentioned it to them They said, that's a great idea. We need to bring this history back. And Mr. Hooper, I'm all in. So did our OD college. They said, we are all in too. This shouldn't be just a bike trail. I said it was the blood trail for me as a historic and understanding black history. We don't have nothing on that Allen Creek Trail to mention our history. And Columbus is a great place. We are striving, big place. It ain't only about the Buckeyes. It should be this history. When we come from miles around, we can visit this wonderful Underground Railroad historical place. And I'm just wanting council to go all in on this. And I want to thank Parks and Recs for visualizing this too. And I visualize it with, like I say, Councilman Michael B. Coleman. And I just wonder what he was thinking them 50 years ago when he was on top of that house saying, don't tear down our history. Now I'm so proud to be here to say now we can begin to bring it back and let the world know how wonderful Columbus is. And I want to thank Mr. Murphy and our wonderful staff. We've been working on this for 6 months, seeing what kind of neighborhood ideals we can get. What would you like to see at this park? How do it make you think about history? How can our kids from all the grade schools come and look at this with our libraries and make Columbus as great as it should be? And I want to thank council for giving me this opportunity. And once again, I want to thank Parks and Recs Administrator Mr. Murphy and our wonderful staff for reaching out and touching the lives of Columbus in this historical manner.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hooper, as always, for your advocacy and for your service to this community and our area commission. You've always been someone that is standing up for the people of your neighborhood, but also for the people of Columbus. So thank you for spearheading this idea and for working with us to get it across the finish line.
Thank you.
All right, last but certainly not least, we have Chet Rittenhauer. Good to see you again. Welcome back to council.
My name is Chet Rittenhauer. I serve our Neighborhoods Foundation and our Block Watch, 120 West Goodale Street. Good evening, Chair Bankston, Councilmember Weish. As a longtime community organizer and champion for our neighborhoods, I've continued to study and learn about best practices across the country for how we can intentionally create stronger communities across our cities. Through my research, I've learned that asset-based community development, or ABCD, can be an invaluable strategy to empower more residents on more blocks to take a more proactive role to improve the health and safety of their own neighborhood. By focusing on what's strong, not what's wrong, by discovering the hidden gifts of our neighbors, by connecting those people and resources with each other, and then mobilizing them to take action on causes they care about, these neighbors are laying down a foundation of community collaboration that will continue to pay dividends for years and decades to come. The nearby neighbors on most blocks are all too often disconnected, unknown, and disengaged from participating in most city planning and improvement initiatives. These people are also the most untapped, unrecognized, underutilized, and undervalued assets and resources on each and every one of our city blocks. But inevitably, it's those persons living close to us that have the best opportunity to make the biggest impact on our lives. In my experience, our neighbors could be each other's best real-world social support and safety networks. When we make intentional, focused efforts to better get to know our neighbors and the diverse backgrounds, skills, talents, and abilities we all possess, we make these little corners of our world feel a little more like home. Don't just take my word, listen to the experts. A global study by Nextdoor found knowing as few as 6 neighbors' names immediately begins to build connectivity, community, reduce anxiety, reduce loneliness, and more. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has shown that one of the most likely indicators for how well communities bounce back after disaster or crisis is how well they know their neighbors. Because when an emergency strikes and our few first responders are spread thin across higher priority runs, it's going to be the relationships with the people living nearby you that make the biggest impact on your health and safety. So we should be preparing to know how to save ourselves and build resiliency now before it's needed. Harvard's John F. Kennedy School for Government Research indicates that when comparing 2 equal communities, one with 10% more police presence and another where 10% more neighbors know each other's names, the community where neighbors are better connected will have better long-term outcomes. And in Robert Putnam's best-selling book, Bowling Alone, he discovered that joining and participating in one group cuts your cuts in half your odds of dying in the next year. I recommend everyone watch the follow-up documentary, Join or Die. It's available on Netflix. As our cities continues to review current and future CDBG grants, I would invite those leaders and decision makers to consider how, can I have 30 more seconds? To consider how we might better organize on a hyper-local, block-by-block level. It may take a paradigm shift to refocus efforts on how we can discover, connect, and mobilize residents to be more proactive participants in bettering life on their street with their immediate neighbors, but the principles and proven impact of an ABCD strategy are worth the investments. By strengthening this social fabric, building social capital, and meeting people right where they live, we're fostering stronger relationships between nearby neighbors that will be there to support each other when they need it most. ABCD principles directly and indirectly align with CDBG's stated goals, including improving quality of life for residents, addressing social determinants of health, and providing activities for our youth, and more. I'd be very happy and willing to follow up with your teams to further discuss these ideas and any of the programs and initiatives that are receiving funds about how we may involve more neighbors into their programming. Thank you.
Thank you, Chet, for that, and thank you for all the advocacy I know that you've done for sure in your neighborhood. And I think those sentiments are widely shared here, is that I think when we embrace our neighbors, we also address a lot of other things like racism, like intolerances that happen in our community as well. So to that point, go knock on your neighbor's door, check on them, say hi every once in a while. Thanks again.
Thanks.
All right, that concludes all of our speakers. I want to thank everyone who signed up. I just also want the record to reflect that we did receive written testimony from Mid-Ohio Food Collective regarding the city's proposed CDBG investment for the Eastland Prosperity Center project. And you can also, again, submit comments until, Lucy, I'll kick it to you. Give me that.
Friday.
Till Friday, and can you give us the email address one more time?
Grants, mgmt@columbus.gov.
All right, thank you. Legislation to confirm the recommended projects discussed today will come before council for consideration this coming Monday, November 25th. Thank you again to Lucy, Hannah, and Rita for all the time that you have put into this year's action plan, as well as our new consolidated plan, which you can find on the city's website. Please reach out to my legislative aide, JP Dorval, jpdorval@columbus.gov with any questions or comments that you may have in the meantime, or if we can assist you at all with questions and helping you with the CDBG process. Also, again, want to thank Councilmember White. Any final comments before we depart? All right. Also want to thank the rest of my team. They're sitting back there. Wave, guys. Wave. There you go. They're the soldiers behind the scenes. They make me look good, and they are the smartest people in the room. I see Councilmember White's team in the back, too, incognito. Always want to shout out our staff because they're the ones that help make this place go. Again, thank our friends at CTV, and again, thank you all for being here, and have a great evening.